Question 5, Don says, I have an extra little question that I want to throw in at this time. Is regressive hypnosis of an individual to reveal to them memories of previous incarnations a service or a disservice to them? Good question. Ross says, we scan your query and find you shall apply the answer to your future. This causes us to be concerned with the first distortion. However, the query is also general and contains an opportunity for us to express a significant point. Therefore, we shall speak. Now it's interesting, first of all, that Ross says, we scan and see that you have intentions to get this hypnosis or to work with this hypnosis. Right? So we don't want to talk too much because that will guide you, that may guide you to make a decision based on what we said, if it's important or not. So, yeah, they said we cannot say much because of the first distortion, free will, and all that. But they said the question is general, so we may say something. And what did they say? Ra explains, there is an infinite range of possibility of service, disservice in the situation of time regression hypnosis, as you term this means of aiding memory. It has nothing to do with the hypnotist. It has only to do with the use which the entity so hypnotized makes of the information so gleaned. If the hypnotist desires to serve, and if such a service is performed only upon sincere request, the hypnotist is attempting to be of service. So, very general. There's not much that I can say here other than expand on what they already said. First, there's an infinite range of possibility of service and disservice in the situation of time regression hypnosis, as you term this means of aiding memory. So hypnosis is a way in which the mind-body-spirit complex can look back at its previous experiences. Now, because we are humans, and this will actually aid a little bit into the understanding of higher self, you see, there is no past lives, just like there is no past days. Let me explain that. If you say that there are past lives, is as equal as saying there are past days. So I have had however thousands of days in your life so far. So all of those thousands of days are an incarnation into space-time, right? So when you say this, you're saying I have simply previous experiences. So these previous experiences can actually be seen. Now, because of the development of the brain and the retention of the mind within the veil, you can only remember those things that you have lived since the development of your brain. And that's what we call the lifetime. But this brain is limited to this density, is limited to this understanding, and actually can pierce a little bit the veil and have some remembrance of past lives, let's call it that, right? That's hypnosis, or regressive hypnosis for past lives, reincarnation, or previous incarnations rather. So that is a view of seeing that, yes, there is a validity to saying past lives, but you are everything that exists right now. Meaning that the configuration of your mind right now is due to every other experience, this mind-body-spirit complex with which you identify with, right? That's the one that has all the memories. It's a database. Carla used to call it soul stream. This is the recollection of all the experiences that make you who you are, physically and mentally, your inclinations, your biases. The creator is one and is looking through all these little windows called mind-body-spirit complexes, or I like to call it fractals, mind fractals. So the hypnotists will be able to be of service if it wants to do this service. I'll get to that. Let me not get ahead, because I want to explain a couple more things. So when you look back and you see previous lives, you're looking at previous information that is still guiding your life right here. This is why I have said that, and I continue to say, it's not necessary. Okay? I'm not saying it's useless, but it's not necessary to go back to previous lives, because everything that you have, that you are, is being projected right now by you, because you are a function of all these past experiences. Just like you can say quite accurately, and it transfers equally to the previous lives, you can say, well, all the experiences that I have had in my life, I accept, and thanks to that, I am who I am, and I'm happy. I'm happy with who I am. Well, all of that is making you be what you are right now, those experiences. In the same way, your past lives, your past incarnations or experiences, simply in other bodies in space-time, all of this is within you, and it's being projected right now. So the true moment is now. I believe in the Seth material, they say something about past lives. I think Seth says something. I didn't read the books, by the way, so don't ask me questions, please. I just know this from research. Let's call it that. Seth says something like, you see a bunch of lives, I see just one life. You see one incarnation. You see all of these as separate portions, which kind of makes sense, because the human mind likes to segment things. In space-time, we like to chop things into categories, and so it's okay to see it that way. We should be glad that the mind doesn't do this with days or weeks or months, and we're still pretty obsessed with time anyways. But you get the point. Now, going back to the service of hypnosis, Ross says that there is an infinite range of possibility of service or disservice in the situation of time regression hypnosis, because depending on what we see in our past experiences, we can use that for the enhancement of our current life, or we can do it and be more distorted. That's possible too. So it says, or Ross says, it has nothing to do with the hypnotist. It has only to do with the use which the entity so hypnotized makes of the information so gleaned. And it depends on the person receiving the information, as usual. Just like when you give information to people and they whatever they do with that information, that's their work. It's not yours. So you can only provide information to people. Now, if the hypnotist desires to serve, and if such a service is performed only upon sincere request, very important, you cannot perform something that you're not being requested. So don't abridge free will, is what Ra is saying. If you want to be of service, of course, service to others. The hypnotist is attempting to be of service. So, if the hypnotist simply desires to serve and it's asked, then one, the hypnotist will be of service. And if the service is actually helpful or not, it depends on the person receiving the information. Quite simple. But I wanted to give the introduction to the perception that what we call we, there's a two-part of this I. There is the outward I, which feels itself limited in evolution, in a process. And then there is, and this one is sort of illusory because it's never there. It's only a process. And so this is what we call the separate self, which is, again, it's not something that needs to be annihilated. It's just something that needs to be regarded for what it is. People have a lot of trouble with this. And I understand, I truly understand. This is not an easy thing to catch intuitively. It's something that you need to decondition your mind to see. But okay, so that is the outward self, and then there is the inner self, which is our true self, the one that is the one. I don't even have to say anything. The one self, that which we all share together. That's our connection, the one self. There is no other self. That's why Ra is so, at the beginning, confusing with all their uses of self, other self, self-oriented, and so on. So yes, that's a key understanding. If we want to get into the mystical side of the Law of One, we need to understand why there's only one self. And there are various ways. I mean, there's an infinite ways to see this from the perspective of the separate self. There's only one way to see it when you go inward. You see, it's expressed even there. We, from our separate self perspective, can see this in many ways. None of them are finally true, except the one that we can see without words, or without thoughts, for that matter.